Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive. I'm really excited about this one because we're talking about custom chips this time.
Yeah, definitely. It's a topic that's really at the forefront of technology and innovation these days.
And it's kind of a hidden revolution too.
Right.
Like most people don't even realize how much these tiny components are impacting the tech landscape.
That's true. I mean, most people just think about the software or the apps they use, but the underlying hardware is what makes it all possible. And increasingly, that hardware is becoming customized.
So let's start there. What exactly are we talking about when we say custom chips? For someone who's not an electrical engineer, what's the basic concepts?
Well, you can think of it this way. Most of the chips you find in your devices are kind of like mass-produced clothing. They're designed to work for a wide range of applications.
Okay, I get that. Like
Yeah.
a generic t-shirt, it gets the job done.
Yeah,
But it's not exactly tailored to your specific needs.
exactly. And that's where custom chips come in, also known as ASICs, application-specific integrated circuits. These chips are designed for a very specific purpose.
So it's like having a tailor make you a suit instead of buying one off the rack.
Perfect analogy. And just like a tailored suit, a custom chip is going to fit perfectly and perform much better for its intended use.
Okay, so we're talking about bespoke silicon here. But what are the real benefits? How does this translate into an advantage for the companies that are using them?
Performance is a huge factor. Because these chips are designed for a specific task, they can do it much faster and more efficiently than a general-purpose chip.
Makes sense. So it's not just about doing things quicker, it's also about doing them better.
Absolutely. And this performance boost goes hand in hand with another major advantage: energy efficiency.
Okay, how so?
Well, by eliminating unnecessary components and optimizing the chip's architecture for its specific tasks, you can significantly reduce power consumption.
I see. So that's a win for both the companies and the users. Longer battery life, anyone.
Exactly. A perfect example of this is Apple's M1 chip. It delivers incredible performance while using significantly less power than previous generations.
That's pretty impressive.
Hmm.
And I'm sure it played a big role in the success of their MacBooks and iPads.
Without a doubt. And speaking of benefits, let's not forget about supply chain resilience.
Yes. Those chip shortages we saw not too long ago, that was a real wake-up call for a lot of companies.
It was. And companies that relied on generic chips were left scrambling. But those with custom designs had a bit more control over their supply chains.
So it's like having a backup generator when the power goes out.
Precisely. Having custom chips gives you more flexibility and helps you weather those kinds of storms.
Okay, so we've established that custom chips can boost performance, improve energy efficiency, and make you less vulnerable to supply chain disruptions. That's a pretty compelling case.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about the bigger picture now. How does all of this translate into a real competitive edge?
That's the key question, isn't it? And it's where things get really interesting because these chips aren't just about technical specs. They're about strategy.
Okay, you've got my attention. Lay it on me. What kind of strategic advantages are we talking about?
Well, let's start with differentiation. Companies like Apple are using custom chips to create products that are uniquely Apple. They're not just relying on off-the-shelf components anymore. They're designing the entire experience from the ground up.
So it's like having a signature style that no one else can replicate.
Exactly. And that's a powerful way to stand out in a crowded market.
It's not just about making a product, it's about crafting an experience. And that's something consumers are willing to pay a premium for.
You got it. So differentiation is a huge strategic advantage. But there's more. There's also cost efficiency over time.
Interesting. But didn't you say that designing a custom chip is incredibly expensive? How does that lead to savings in the long run?
Great question. You're right, the initial investment is significant, but once you've got your own custom chip, you can potentially lower your production costs per unit and increase your profit margins.
Okay, so it's a bit of a long game. But if you're playing for keeps, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does. And then there's the advantage of tailored solutions. You're creating a chip that's perfectly suited to your specific needs instead of trying to adapt a general-purpose chip to do something it wasn't really designed for.
Like forcing a square peg into a round hole.
Exactly. And with custom chips, you can avoid that. You can optimize every aspect of the chip to match your product's requirements.
So it's like having a tool that's perfectly designed for the job.
That's the idea. And that level of precision can lead to significant improvements in performance, efficiency, and overall user experience.
I'm starting to see why so many companies are jumping on this custom chip bandwagon. It sounds like a game changer.
It really is. And we're just starting to see the tip of the iceberg. There are so many potential applications for custom chips in so many different
Well,
industries.
this is exciting stuff.
Yeah.
But I know it's not all sunshine and roses. There have got to be some challenges involved too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Designing a custom chip is no small feat. It requires a ton of expertise, time, and resources.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's not like any company can just decide to make their own chips overnight.
Not at all. It's a major undertaking. And there are definitely some risks involved.
Okay, I'm all ears. What kind of risks are we talking about?
Well, for starters, the design process itself can take a long time. 18 to 30 months is not uncommon.
Wow, that's longer than I expected. And I'm guessing any delays along the way can get pretty expensive.
You bet. So time is definitely a factor. And then there's the challenge of balancing flexibility with optimization.
I see. You don't want to pour all this time and money into a chip that's going to be obsolete in a year or two.
Exactly. Technology moves fast,
Yeah.
and you need to be able to adapt. So companies have to think carefully about how to future-proof their designs as much as possible.
So it's not just about making the best chip possible right now.
Yeah.
It's about making a chip that can evolve with the market.
That's the key. And it's a delicate balancing act. But when it's done right, the results can be truly transformative.
Well, you've definitely painted a compelling picture. It sounds like custom chips are more than just a technological advancement. They're a strategic imperative.
Yeah.
And it's going to be fascinating to see how this trend continues to unfold.
I agree. And the implications go far beyond the tech industry itself. We're talking about a shift that has the potential to reshape entire sectors.
Okay, so before we get too carried away with the big picture, let's bring it back down to earth for a second. What does this custom chip revolution mean for everyday folks like me?
That's the question we all want answered, right? What's the impact on consumers? And I think the long-term implications are overwhelmingly positive.
I like the sound of that. Give me the good news.
Well, for starters, custom chips can lead to devices that are faster, more efficient, and more secure.
So that means longer battery life, smoother performance, and maybe even fewer security breaches. Sign me up.
Right. Those are all tangible benefits that we can all appreciate. But the impact goes beyond our personal gadgets.
I was just thinking that this isn't just about smartphones and laptops. This is about all sorts of industries.
Yeah. Exactly. As custom chips become more prevalent, we can expect to see advancements in healthcare, transportation, sustainability, and more.
So we're talking about smarter medical devices, safer self-driving cars, and maybe even a greener energy grid.
It's all within the realm of possibility, and that's what makes this so exciting. We're talking about a technology that has the potential to solve some of the world's biggest challenges.
It sounds almost too good to be true. Are there any potential downsides we should be thinking about?
Well, with any new technology, there are always going to be some challenges and concerns. We need to be mindful of issues like data privacy and ethical considerations.
Right, technology is a tool, and it's up to us to use it responsibly.
Absolutely. But overall, I think custom chips have the potential to make a real positive impact on the world. And that's something worth getting excited about.
I agree. And it's a topic we're going to be exploring in much greater depth in this deep dive. Got a lot of ground to cover. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after a quick break. Okay, so we're back and we've been talking about the advantages of custom chips. The performance boost, the energy savings, the supply chain resilience.
Right. And we were just starting to get into the strategic implications, how these chips can give companies a real edge in the market.
Exactly. So let's pick up where we left off. You mentioned something about differentiation, how custom chips can help companies stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, it's like this. Before custom chips came along, everyone was basically using the same off-the-shelf components, so it was hard to create truly unique products.
Right. It was all about the software. The hardware was kind of a given.
But with custom chips, companies can now control the entire stack, from the silicon to the software, and that opens up a whole new world of possibilities.
Okay, so it's like Apple with their M1 chip. They're not just making a processor. They're designing a whole ecosystem.
Precisely. And that allows them to create an experience that's uniquely Apple, something that you can't get anywhere else.
So differentiation is a big one. But you also mentioned cost efficiency over time. And I'm still a little fuzzy on that, because isn't designing a custom chip incredibly expensive up front?
It is. There's no denying that. But the long-term benefits can outweigh the initial investment.
Okay, help me understand this. How do you save money by spending a ton of money on a custom chip?
Think of it this way. When you're using generic chips, you're essentially renting those components from someone else. You're paying a premium for their design and manufacturing.
Okay, I see that. So with a custom chip, you're basically building your own factory instead of renting one.
That's a great analogy. And just like owning a factory gives you more control over production, having your own chip gives you more control over costs. You can optimize the design for manufacturing and potentially lower your per unit costs in the long run.
Okay, so it's a long game. But if you're playing for keeps, it makes a lot of sense.
It does. And then there's the third strategic advantage, tailored solutions.
All right, you mentioned that before, but I'd love to hear more about it. How does having a custom chip allow for more tailored solutions?
Well, instead of trying to make a general purpose chip do something it wasn't really designed for,
Yeah.
you can create a chip that's perfectly suited to your specific needs.
So you're not trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
Exactly. You're designing the hole to fit the peg. And that level of precision can lead to significant improvements in performance efficiency and overall user experience.
I see. So it's like having a tool that's designed specifically for the job instead of trying to make do with a generic one.
That's the idea, and it allows companies to really push the boundaries of what's possible. They're no longer limited by the capabilities of off-the-shelf components.
This is all starting to make a lot of sense. But I know it's not all smooth sailing. There have got to be some challenges involved in designing a custom chip.
Oh, definitely. It's a complex process,
Yeah.
and there are definitely some risks involved.
Like what?
Well, for starters, the design process itself can take a long time. We're talking 18 to 30 months in some cases.
Wow, that's a significant investment of time. And I'm guessing any delays along the way can get pretty expensive.
You bet. Time is money in this business. And then there's the challenge of balancing flexibility with optimization.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What do you mean by that?
Well, you don't want to pour all this time and money into a chip that's going to be obsolete in a couple of years.
Yeah, technology moves so fast, you got to be able to adapt.
Exactly. So companies have to think carefully about how to future-proof their designs as much as possible. They need to anticipate future trends and build in some flexibility so that their chips can evolve with the market.
So it's not just about making the best chip possible right now. It's about making a chip that can stay relevant for years to come.
Exactly. It's a strategic challenge. But when it's done right, the payoff can be huge.
Okay, so we've talked about the benefits, we've talked about the challenges, but I want to zoom out a bit now and talk about the bigger picture. Because this custom chip trend isn't just limited to tech giants like Apple and Google.
You're right. It's spreading to all sorts of industries. And it's starting to have a ripple effect across the entire tech landscape.
Okay, so give me some examples. Where else are we seeing custom chips popping up?
Well, one area that's really interesting is data centers. As the demand for cloud computing and data-intensive applications continues to grow, data centers are looking for ways to improve performance and efficiency.
Makes sense. And custom chips seem like a natural fit for that.
They are, because you can design chips that are specifically optimized for data center workloads, like processing massive amounts of data or running complex algorithms.
So instead of using generic chips that are kind of jack of all trades, you're using chips that are masters of one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that can lead to significant improvements in performance and energy efficiency, which is crucial in a data center environment.
Okay, so data centers are one area. What else?
Another area that's seeing a lot of growth is edge computing.
Edge computing. Now, that's a term I've been hearing more and more lately, but I'm not entirely sure I understand what it means.
It's basically about bringing a processing power closer to where the data is being generated. Instead of sending all that data back to a central server, you can process it locally on the edge of the network.
Okay, I'm starting to see the picture, and I'm guessing custom chips play a big role in making this possible.
They do, because you need chips that are small, efficient, and powerful enough to handle the demands of edge computing. And you can't always find those qualities in off-the-shelf chips.
So custom chips are enabling this whole new paradigm of computing, where data is processed closer to the source.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that opens up a whole new world of possibilities for everything from self-driving cars to smart cities to personalized medicine.
Wow, we're really just scratching the surface here. I can't wait to see what other industries start to embrace custom chips in the years to come.
It's going to be fascinating to watch because this trend has the potential to transform not just the tech industry, but the world as we know it.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. But before we wrap up this section, I want to bring it back to the human element. Because at the end of the day, technology is all about people.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay.
It's about solving problems, improving lives, and making the world a better place.
So what does this custom chip revolution mean for everyday folks like me? What are the real-world implications for consumers?
Well, I think the most immediate impact is going to be on the devices we use every day, our smartphones, laptops, tablets.
Okay, so those devices are going to get even smarter, even faster, even more powerful.
Yeah, exactly. We can expect to see significant improvements in performance, battery life, and even things like security.
So basically, our tech is just going to keep getting better and better.
That's the idea. And as custom chips become more prevalent in other industries, we're going to see advancements in all sorts of areas: healthcare, transportation, you name it.
Okay, so paint me a picture.
Yeah.
What might that look like in, say, 5 or 10 years?
Well, in healthcare, for example, we could see more personalized medicine devices that are tailored to your specific needs and can monitor your health in real time.
So it's like having a personal doctor with you 24/7.
In a way, yeah. And in transportation, we could see self-driving cars becoming even safer and more efficient.
Okay, I'm starting to see the potential here. But this is pretty exciting stuff. But I also want to be realistic. Are there any potential downsides to this custom chip revolution?
Well, like with any new technology, there are always going to be some challenges. One thing we need to be mindful of is data privacy.
Right, because these chips are collecting a lot of information about us.
They are. And as that data becomes more personalized and more valuable, we need to make sure it's being used responsibly.
So it's not just about the technology itself, it's about the ethical considerations as well.
Exactly. And then there's the issue of complexity. As our devices become more reliant on custom chips, they're also becoming more complex.
So it's going to be harder for the average person to understand how their tech actually works.
That's a possibility, and it could make it more difficult to troubleshoot problems or repair devices.
Okay, so it's a double-edged sword, but overall, it sounds like the benefits of custom chips outweigh the risks.
I think so. I mean, we're talking about technology that has the potential to solve some of the world's biggest problems. So I'm optimistic.
Okay, so let's try to distill all of this down to one key takeaway for our listeners. What's the big picture message here?
I think the main takeaway is this. Custom chips are a game changer. They're not just a technological advancement. They're a strategic imperative.
Okay, I like that. They're a strategic imperative. What does that mean exactly?
It means that companies that embrace custom chips are going to have a significant advantage in the market. They're going to be able to create better products, control their costs, and innovate faster.
So it's not just about keeping up with the competition. It's about outpacing them.
Exactly. And for consumers, it means that we can expect to see some pretty amazing things in the years to come.
Well, you've definitely given us a lot to think about today. It's been a fascinating deep dive into the world of custom chips.
It has. And I think it's just the beginning. We're going to see a lot more innovation in this space in the future.
Well, I can't wait to see what the future holds. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time for another exploration of the tech that's shaping our world.